Good evening. My name is Steve Ellis, Superintendent of Nash County Public Schools. I would like to welcome you to our Caregiver Workshop Series. Our topic tonight is Resiliency Reset Tools. In a year where our students have lived through a pandemic, we sometimes are concerned about academics and forget about the social emotional aspect of what they're going through today. Tonight, we will explore tools to assist these students in those efforts. Once again, thank you for your participation and your commitment to your child's success.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Chris Catalano, and I'm the Executive Director of Communication, Planning, and Engagement for Nash County Public Schools. I'd like to, as Dr. Ellis did, thank everyone for joining us for our first in a series of Connect, Inform, Engage parent workshops. Over the course of the next few months, we will share information and resources with our NCPS families through this workshop series. The idea for this series was born out of a desire to come together as a community of NCPS staff and parents to engage in conversations about supporting our Nash County Public School students in achieving their highest potential. We will begin with a presentation by Yvette Richardson, Nash County Public School social worker and trained resiliency facilitator, and then move into a question and answer session with a panel of awesome Nash County Public School parents and staff. We will begin this with some pre-submitted questions that were emailed prior to tonight's meeting, and then we'll transition to live questions and answers where Jeannie Kerr, Michelle Royster, and I will serve as moderators, selecting questions from the Zoom chat to read to the group. Michelle is going to take a moment to share with us, with those joining our Zoom session this evening, how to use the chat feature in Zoom. Let me share my screen here. Missed all that. I think you have to turn that, sorry. There you go.
On your screen, you should see at the bottom a line that has mute start video. Part that you want to pay attention to is the one that says chat. If you click on that, a menu will show up where you are able to type your questions. That menu, once you click on chat, will pop up a little small screen where it will say type your message here. If you type your message there, everyone on Zoom and we will be able to see what you have typed in. If you do not see that chat feature, on your screen, you'll probably see 3 dots with the word more. If you click on that, that should then pull up your chat option so that you'll be able to chat with us and communicate with us. We ask that you share your questions or anything that you would like to hear in future workshop sessions so that we may be able to be a better service to you, our community, and to our students.
Thank you, Michelle. We wanted to take, again, thank everyone for joining our inaugural Connect, Inform, Engage Parent Workshop session. We encourage everyone to go ahead and use that chat for us to interact this evening. We have disabled the microphone feature. We do have some panelists who are on Zoom who we will unmute, but we definitely want you to engage through that chat box in the Zoom platform. I will now turn the mic over to Yvette Richardson, Nash County Public School social worker and trained resiliency facilitator.
Thank you, Dr. Catalano, and good evening to everyone, our parents, and welcome to the Caregiver workshop series. This is the first, and we are also excited about being here with you. What I'm going to do in the next 15, 20 minutes is just share with you some information on resilience. We'll give you a couple of definitions and talk to you about why it's important. Why is resilience important? Not just for ourselves, but for those around us, as well as our children during these times that we've all been living through. And then I'm going to leave you with a couple of tools that you can start to use. So I don't think anybody would disagree with the statement that we have been living in challenging times. These are challenging times. When we think about the global pandemic, health concerns of ourselves, our children, family members, in some cases, job loss for different people, maybe ourselves, those of you who are out there listening to us, as well as the racial tensions that are going on across the country, just across the world, social issues that are raising up, political issues that are raising up. It seems like every time you turn around, something new is happening, something different is going on. And those things can cause us to be stressful, and feel overwhelmed. And that's the time we're living in. So they can be traumatizing in many cases. So but there's good news. So I know that was a bleak view right there, but there's some good news we're gonna share. And so want to again just start to lift up some definitions for you. Trying to get my slides to move here. That's okay. Yeah. Okay. So want to first talk about trauma. And trauma is something that a person has been through, and it's usually something that is negative. And I saw some numbers about that a couple of days ago that were just shocking to me. It said 223.4 million adults have experienced at least one trauma in their lifetime, and 35 million children have experienced at least one. But the good news on that, the other side of that, is that we are resilient as people. And resiliency is the overcoming of that trauma. So we don't have to live with the effects of trauma in our lives as well as our children. So resilience is when our scale tips towards the positive, even in the presence of hard things going on. And so it's an intentional focus that we have to have, where we tip our scale towards positive things that are happening in our lives. So we have to pay attention to the good things that are going on around us so that the negative things don't weigh as heavy on us. So we're going to be learning about resilience, how that affects our body, and then also some strategies and tools that will help us to build our resilience, because we are resilient. Each and every one of us, your children are resilient, your family members, we do have a level of resiliency, but we want to be in a position where we build our resilience as parents, as we navigate, and as helping your children to be successful in building their resilience. So one of the things I want to talk about is one of the core values that we look at when we're doing resiliency work is that people are not to blame for the trauma and stress that impacts them, that the trauma is caused by unjust systems around us. Sometimes people can take on a sense of shame in the things that are going on around them. We know that resilience is an inner strength that we all have. Every single human being has resilience, and regardless of the background, we are wired. We're wired to be resilient, and we're wired for connection and healing. So that's the good news. So we're just going to learn together on how to build our resiliency. So I want to talk now about the brain and the body science behind it. So our body's response to trauma, it is natural, 100% natural. It makes sense, and you make sense to us. So when any of us get hit with the trauma or get stressful or stressed out, feel overwhelmed, there is a response that we have to that. And as humans, again, we are wired to respond in the ways that we respond when we are faced with a trauma or faced with some stressful situations. So the Can we get to the slide that talks about our automatic survival responses? So thinking about, yep, that's it. There are three levels of response that we have as humans. Most people know them as fight, flight, and freeze. So our first response, automatic response, is to connect with other people. So that's why it's important that we stay connected to others and that we connect with our children as well. So that's our first response. And in that response, that's where we feel safe. And if we cannot connect with someone and get that level of safety, right, because it's a signal that actually gets sent to our brain. And if we cannot do that, then we will go into the second level, which causes us to go into a fight or flight mode. And that fight can look like complaining all the time, competing. It can look like being defensive. The flight mode can be seen as checking out. You're there, but you're not there. You're absent. Don't want to get up and go to work. Don't want to get up and do whatever it is that you might have to do. Your children don't want to get up and get on the computer every day. They might be in a flight mode because a lot of research is out there that says our children are affected, have been affected with their mental health in being in isolation and being away from their friends, in not being at school, which is their norm, as well as the adults in our lives, all of us. That third level would send us into a freeze, submit, and collapse mode. So I think the point I want to make here is that our responses to the stress and the trauma, they are normal. It is the way that our body has been wired. And so even for our children, if our children are not responding in the way they used to respond, they don't seem as happy as they used to seem. They may be throwing tantrums. They may be defensive. They may be refusing to do things. They are responding in the way that their body has been wired to respond. So want to look at now the resilient zone. So our resilient zone out of balance. So in our resilient zone, that's where we're able to handle, I want to say, the normal stress of life, where energy comes into our system. So if you can see the slide, well, there's a lightning bolt on the side. Those are the stresses that hit us. So we talk about them being jolts to our system or threats to our system. So those things come to us, come at us. And what happens is energy gets put into that, into our system, which then if it doesn't move in and out in a normal way, which most of us, that's where we are, we're able to move in and out, that energy moves in and out, and we're still in a place where we can make good decisions. We show up for the people who we need to show up for, and we're able to do the things that we need to do. But what can happen is when we get bumped out of our resilient zone, that energy can get stuck, and it will get stuck in the result of that getting stuck is we can become amped up, where we become anxious, where we're hyper vigilant about things. We can even lose sleep. We're angry. There's also this sense of danger all around us. Or you can go into a shutdown zone where there's not enough energy in our system. And what tends to happen there is there's a sense of sadness, tiredness, feeling exhausted. You're disconnected. Your thinking is not clear. And so this is why it's important that we learn these strategies and tools to get us through the challenges that we're going through. And not just during this pandemic time, but just for a lifetime. I mean, these are lifetime tools that we can use as we navigate through life. So again, the good news is, and if you go to the next slide, resiliency tools help us to get back into our resilient zone. So anything that brings positive, sensitive awareness into the present moment can help you or someone else get back into the resilient zone when you're either amped up or shut down. So we're going to talk a little bit about rapid reset tools, which is one of the one of the strategies used in the framework to help us to get back into the resilient zone. So to restore a balance to our nervous system, we have to signal safety to the survival brain. Because remember, it's when we feel unsafe is when we go into that fight, flight, freeze, collapse mode. So in order to get us back to feeling safe, there are some things that we can do to signal to our brain that, you know what, we really are safe, to help get us back into the resilient zone. So one of the core tools that is used in the resiliency framework, it's called sensing in. And in order to do that, you just pay attention to what's going on in your body. So just want to ask you a question and just think about it. Where do you feel stress physically in your body? Right? When you get stressed out, when you feel overwhelmed, where does that show up in your body? For me, a lot of times it shows up in my shoulders. So I have learned, all right, Yvette, what's going on? Right? Your body is our body talks to us. And we have to learn to listen. And this is something you can teach your children. Teach your children to listen to their bodies. For some children, it shows up in their stomach, right? They get that anxious feeling. They can't really describe it. My stomach hurts, right? But it could be that they're out of their resilient zone, and that's where it's showing up in their body. So the core tool is to sense into your body. What is your body telling you? And again, we want to bring some positive sensory awareness to ourselves so that we can signal to our brain that we're okay and we can get through this. So want to go to just show you before I demonstrate and give you some tools that you can start to use immediately. The resiliency tools, again, you can see from this diagram, the core tool is sensing in. So learn to sense into your body. What is my body telling me? And the tools, couple of the tools that we're going to look at tonight, they're called rapid reset tools. So I'm going to share 2 tools with you tonight, and I'm going to take a little plug for next week's session. And I invite you back next week because we're going to be learning a lot more strategies and a lot more tools to help you as parents, as well as help your children to build their resiliency. And so that you can get back into your resilient zone and show up and do the things you need to do as parents, and then your children can show up and do the things that they need to do. So I want you to remember, I talked about when we looked at the resilient zone, it's energy that comes in and out of our system. So I want you to take your hands and just put them together right here in front of you. And you can press them against each other as hard as you want and just start rubbing them back and forth. And we'll do this for about a minute. And I want you to think about what you're feeling in your body. Some of you may have been tense tonight. And you can go as fast, you can go as slow as you want to. And again, this is something that you can, in the middle of something, you can stop your kids and say, okay, stand up. We're going to do this. Don't even tell them why you're doing it. Just do it. Right? So what we're doing here is we're channeling energy, right? We're getting a release. So I know for me, I'll describe what I felt. My hands got warm, right? I felt a warmth in my hands. Jeannie's holding her cheeks. Y'all can't see Jeannie. Jeannie is holding her cheeks. And I also felt a release. I want to say a release in my back because I was pressing as hard as I could. And I felt the muscles in my back relax. And so right now, this moment, I brought some positive sensory awareness into this present moment, right? So again, that's something that you can do for yourself. Doesn't take a very long time, and also do with your children. So the next one is, if anyone is sitting in a seat, comfortable seat, sturdy seat, feet flat on the floor, and I want you to put your hands up under the seat as if you were going to pull yourself up or pick yourself up in that chair, and you just as comfortable as you can do it. I want you to act as if you're lifting yourself up. Just pull up on the chair. We're using those big muscles that we have. Again, we're getting that energy that needs to move, that energy that may be stuck somewhere. We're moving it, and you can release. And again, I see Jeannie. I'm using Jeannie. Jeannie's shaking. She's shaking it out. But again, there should. I hope that you felt a release. I hope if there was some muscle groups that were tense, or perhaps you're was feeling the anxiety. I personally feel a lot of anxiety in my stomach. A lot of times I do that to help release that anxiety that I'm feeling, so that I can keep doing all the things that I need to do. The other thing you can do is push against a wall. So if you have a nice sturdy wall, and you can, again, get your children to do it. If they're, I sometimes I call my son, do FaceTime. He's got 2 small ones, and they're like all over the place. And I'm like, look, grandma says, stop. We're going to play this game. Go push against the wall, right? Just to kind of get them to calm down a little bit, bring them down. But you have your children stand up, right? Maybe, I don't know, I want to say maybe about 4 feet, not 4 feet, inches from the wall, right? 6 inches, I don't know, back from the wall. And you have them just push against the wall as hard as they can. And you can do the same thing. Also, if you're sitting at a desk, you can push against the desk. Like oh, no, I don't want to push the podium over. I would take that back. But I think you get what I mean. But so if you're sitting at a desk, something stationary, you just push down on it. And you use those muscles and release that energy out of your system. So again, I want to invite you all back next week. Bring a friend, bring a neighbor, for next week's session, where we're going to learn some more about resiliency, as well as some more tools that you can use, again, on yourself, as well as use with your children, so that you can build your resiliency. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Richardson. We do appreciate all of that information that you just shared with us. I know that I for one, definitely used some of those reset tools myself earlier today. Yvette shared them with us, and it's been a crazy busy day. So if anyone sees me grabbing my chair, that's why I'm resetting. So we are going to move into our panel portion of this evening tonight. I'm going to actually zoom out our camera here a little bit. And we have got a few parents that are in the room with us tonight. We've also got you need to mute it. We've got a few parents in the room with us this evening, as well as a few parents that are online, who are going to unmute and serve on our panel to answer some questions that we have that were pre-sent to us. And then if anyone has any additional questions that they would like to post in the chat, that would be great as well. So what we're going to do right now is have our panelists introduce themselves. If you could let us know your name, and then who you are, if you've got a student in the system, where that student goes to school. And we'll just go around the room in here, and then we'll go through those that are on our Zoom call with us as well, so they can introduce themselves, and then we'll dive into the question and answer. So Ms. Wester, we'll begin with you.
My name is Brooke Wester. I have a first grader that goes to Winston Avenue, and I'm also a staff member. I teach 5th grade at Inglewood Elementary School. So I'm kind of going to be able to give an opinion from both sides of the fence, parent and teacher.
Hey, my name is Annabelle Gonzalez. I am a parent. I have 2 children, one in Edwards Middle School and Benvenue Elementary School.
My name is Anna Mondragon, and I have one son and at Spring Hope Elementary. He's a kindergarten.
Thank you and welcome. And now we'll move to our Zoom panelists. Ms. Royster, actually, if you could unmute them, I'll get Ms. Buck and let her do the first introductions, and then we'll move on to others. Let me see if I can figure out how to unmute you, Ms. Buck.
Good evening. My name is Luanna Buck. I am a parent of 3 children. 2 have come through the Nash County Public Schools and graduated, and I have 1 8th grader at Edwards Middle. And I also teach at Edwards Middle, and I've been in the system for close to 26 years.
Thank you. And I believe we have Ms. Fuller also with us this evening. Ms. Fuller?
Yes, good evening. Hello, everyone. I wasn't aware to put my screen on, but I have a son. I have 3 children in the Nash County Public Schools. A son, he's in D.S. Johnson, and I have a set of twin girls that are in Edwards Middle School.
Thank you for joining our panel this evening.
Mm-hmm.
Are those our panelists? Okay, and we have got Ms.
I don't like my
Wooten.
camera. I'm turning it off.
Ms. Wooten, I believe that you're
Hi.
also unmuted.
Yes, my daughter said to me, "Mom, you're gonna go on like that?" And I said, yes, I am. I've worked all day. I've earned looking like this. So
There you go.
I have 2 little girls. I've got a 7-year-old in 1st grade, and I've got a 5-year-old in kindergarten, and they both go to Middlesex Elementary. And that's all I do right now is my 2 little girls. And I usually make I make custom birthday and wedding cakes at home, and that's slowed down quite a bit. Most of my time is spent doing school with the girls right now.
Okay, thank you to all of our parents who agreed to join the Zoom with us this evening as panelists. So we'll start with the first question, and what we'll do is, I think somebody's still unmuted. Okay, so I apologize for that feedback. We'll start with the first question. I'll ask it, and anyone who'd like to answer, whether you're on Zoom with us or whether you're in the room with us, you can just go ahead and share your thoughts related to that question. So our first question this evening, what have you been doing to support yourself in this pandemic environment? What have you been doing to support yourself?
I think it's hard as parents sometimes to remember to give that to ourselves. We're always so focused on making sure that our kids have everything we need, but we have to remember we can't pour from an empty cup. We have to do something for ourselves too. So I know personally, I have to take some time to indulge in that mindfulness. Yoga is something that I think is a really good meditation time that I can give back to myself. Yesterday and today, this beautiful weather, I went on walks with my kids and a few of my teacher friends after school, and it was amazing what just a 30-minute walk in beautiful weather can do after a stressful day or week or month or 6 months. So I think it's definitely important that we remember to do those types of just even the smallest things for ourselves.
I think also having some sort of a structure at home. I know that when I leave school or anybody leaves their office or wherever they work, I've always said I'm going to leave like I'm not coming back tomorrow. Like I want it to be nice, neat, and organized. So when I walk in, it's ready to go. And the same thing with my house. To look at it right this 5 seconds, you wouldn't think that I'm doing all that, but there has to be some kind of order and structure to it to make sure that when I walk in, it doesn't stress me out to that point. And I think it was Brooke, I guess it was Brooke that was talking that pouring into yourself a little bit, making yourself a priority. It's okay to take that time for yourself and make sure that you are in a good place because your children need you to be in a good place because we're their safe place. we have to be able to support them and love them and keep them as well as we can.
That's right. And for myself, I'll like go get my nails done or something and take a walk. Like these last 2 days have been beautiful. So there was no need to be stuck in the house during the pandemic. And, you know, just read a book in my spare time. Most importantly, listen to music, jazz, something that keeps me mellow. And you had a good point, Ms. Buck, that they need us to be in a good space for them to operate. So I like that. And right.
I would like to say something in Spanish. She wanted to help me. En este tiempo es más fácil encontrar una vía.
At this time, it's a little easier to find
But
take away.
un año atrás era mucho más difícil.
A year ago, it was a little bit harder.
Pero en mi caso,
But in my case,
a buscar un poquito más de Dios
to seek God a little bit more
y involucrar más a mi familia, a mis hijos,
and include my family more into it also
ayudó mucho en mi persona.
has helped me personally.
Y tener siempre en mi mente
And have in my mind
que esto iba a pasar.
that this is going to go by.
So, que tiene que terminar y tenemos que aprender a sobrellevarlo.
That it's going to end eventually and that we have to learn to deal with it.
Thank you. Anyone else who'd like to respond to that question?
Well, me also personally, I at the beginning it was kind of like more an exciting thing for me. So I did have to find like a way to prepare myself mentally for my kids, especially. I did start doing some more exercising, also keeping my mind busy. And thankfully, I have lost some weight due to that. So yes, like focusing on me and to also think that I do have to be strong for my kids.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our second question for this evening. As you have worked to support your child in remote learning, what resources have been most helpful to you and your family? So what tools do you have that have been really helpful as you support your child in their online virtual classes?
Okay, so getting back to the resilience method, we've connected more, we talk more, levels of expression with feelings, like what is bothering you, what do you like most, what don't you like. We've been communicating more with the teachers through the dojo and text message and phone calls. So that's pretty much, you know, as long as we have that open line of communication, it gets a little easier. And most importantly, you got to have patience with one another because it can get a little rocky. So
I concur. Patience and grace, a lot of grace and a lot of patience. And then also, I heard this morning, and I'm gonna steal it for this purpose. Having a group, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to do just about anything. And having that village of people that, if you need a minute, or if you're struggling in math and somebody over there in your village knows math really well and they understand how that teacher's teaching it and the words to use and things like that. I've done 8th grade 4 times now, 3 kids plus myself, and I'm getting really good at it. But you've got to use that village. You've got to use the patience, the grace, and just understand that it's okay. Everybody is in the same storm. We might not be in the same boat getting through the storm, but we're in the same storm and going through it together.
Okay, yeah, I definitely agree. When you just said we're not in the same boat, I was thinking some boats have holes in them,
Right.
some boats have sails. Some boats have motors, some are out of gas. But, you know, if we all have to have that patience with each other. It was rocky for us too in the beginning. I think I was talking about this with Miss Royce the other night. How, you know, you can't just kind of sit on your island or in your boat, like you said, and complain or feel sorry for yourself or even just worry when there are people who want to be your resource. And so my thing is, I have a close relationship with our teachers, and I want to know things. I want to know what to do. And I ask a lot of questions, and they may not always love me, but I make sure that I'm super involved. And if you don't reach out to them, if you're kind of sitting there going, this is hard, or I don't know how to do this, or, you know, the kids aren't listening, they're not focusing, or you're just sitting there in that pity party or that negative mindset, and you don't reach out to the teacher or even your principal, your assistant principal. I mean, these people have texted me and asked me if I needed toilet paper. They're there for you. Last year when you couldn't find any toilet paper, my assistant principal said, do you need toilet paper? My husband had lost his job, and she asked what we needed. It's not just there's a family thing too about it. They want to make sure your family is okay, because then your children will be okay, and they'll be okay to learn, and they'll be okay for all those other things. And the biggest thing that I do in my house, because I push my kids pretty hard because I want them to go to the next grade. I'm super worried about them. But I do things like I make a spreadsheet. I get up and we do start at the same time every day. I have a spreadsheet with every single app and every single thing that they are required to do each day. And that's something super easy that you can do on your Google Docs. And because if I don't do that, there's going to be something that's lacking somewhere, because this mom brain is not going to remember everything. Dry erase is the best thing that was ever invented. I have a dry erase board. I've got a calendar, and I have laminated all the things that I made so that every week we can wipe it clean and we start again. And if there's a red X missing on there, I know that I've got to go back and come on, babe, we've got to sit back down again. But they know what their schedule is. And so my daughter will come in and she'll say, I know, Mom, I got to do extra math. And she'll turn right back around and she'll go back in her room. She'll do that before she comes and bothers me again, because I'm working with my younger child. So it's a super important to have a balance of when one gets a break, one gets to be with mom. When one is working independently, the other one gets a break or gets to be with mom. It is super important to be able to juggle that. And I didn't say anything about the self-care stuff because I don't practice it, obviously, because I mean, so I had nothing to say about the self-care because I'm so concentrated on this. But you have to be able to juggle all those things, and those things like spreadsheets and lists, and making sure that everything is printed out so that if you're busy, your child can pick up that paper and have all of the passwords and all of the sign-ons, and they can go and do that. My 7-year-old has become more like a 10-year-old, and I wish that it wasn't that quick, but she's had to. But, you know, there are a lot of tools that you can use. Even for my 7-year-old, she can do things by herself now because we implement those things and have those things to help. Sorry, I on a rant, but.
So some days I'm not sure what boat I'm on, but I think a lot of days I'm on a paddle boat and I might have lost my oars somewhere along the way. But without my village, I know for a fact I would not be able to survive all of this. I know a lot of people have that misconception. Oh, you're a teacher. You can handle this remote learning. I teach 5th grade, and 5th grade math is very different than 1st grade math and reading and all of that. But also, mommy is not the same as teacher. Mommy as teacher isn't as fun as teacher at school. You know, my son has trouble with me putting that teacher hat on for him. So I use my teacher friends at my school. Sometimes I bounce him to other rooms and he sits in Zoom and he'll do his work. He won't fight me with it then like he would if I had him in the back of my room. But at the same time, one thing that I have loved about this, as a teacher, I don't really get to go to his school and see his classes and be a part of those things. And I've gotten to do that. So I really try to find the positive side in this. And that's one thing that I've really been able to take away. I get to be a part and see what he's doing in class. And that's not something that I would typically get to do. So.
Thank you.
Yo quisiera hablar un poquito de los retos que nuestras familias latinas han tenido.
I would like to speak a little bit about the challenges that our Hispanic families have been having.
El primer reto para nosotros fue traer a la casa la escuela.
Our first challenge was to bring school to our homes.
Y el reto más grande es nuestro idioma.
And the biggest challenge was our language.
Y una mamá latina regularmente trabaja 8 horas al día fuera de casa.
A Hispanic mom, of course, normally works about 8 hours out of home.
Fue y es aún realmente difícil para nosotros.
It is and still is a little hard for us.
Preparar todo para que el niño se quede estudiando en casa.
Prepare everything so that our kids can stay learning at home.
Nuestras herramientas fue buscar a alguien para que los cuidara.
Our tool was to find somebody to be able to watch them.
Regularmente un estudiante de high school.
Regularly, maybe a high school student.
Y antes de irnos a trabajar,
and before going to work,
dejar todo en su escritorio.
Have everything at their desk.
Para que él solamente se siente
so that he can just sit down
y pueda concentrarse.
And concentrate.
Ha sido muy difícil para nosotros.
It has been hard for us.
Pero hemos estado haciendo lo más que podamos.
But we have been trying the best that we can.
Alrededor de mi comunidad,
around our community,
hemos platicado con otras mamás.
We have talked with other moms.
Y nuestros estudiantes
and our students
han ido bajo en sus grados.
Have been low in the grades.
Es porque nosotros tal vez no sabemos usar todas las herramientas.
It's probably because we really don't know how to use all the tools.
Pero estamos tratando.
But we are trying.
Thank you. Any other responses to that question? Or are we ready to move on to the next?
Well, I think all the resources that the teacher has provided for my son has been very helpful. My experience with hers is a little different, of course, because I did grew up here, and my language is, well, I can speak both English and Spanish good. So all the research given by the teacher, class dojo, Clever, Seesaw, all that, I think has really helped me to be able to help my son.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to another question. I think we have one right here. What do your children need in order to support them with returning to school, or if they're going to be remaining virtual? So, I think Monday's the big day, right? And we've got the choice to go back face to face or stay virtual. And so what do your kids need at this time as we move into that new phase next phase of learning?
I know we incorporate a lot of the social emotional health lessons in classes, and I think that's not something we're just born knowing. We have to teach our kids, and so the way that teachers are able to incorporate that in school, I think they really need that. Their little brains, and I say little because I have 2 little ones. I know we have older kids too, but their brains just don't know how to handle all that's going on. We have seniors missing their senior years of high school. It's just not normal. It's not the same things that we got to enjoy. And I think we just have to support them and teach them how they can cope with all of these different things that are going on.
Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ms. Fuller.
Okay, I was going to say, just let them know that they're not alone in this whole situation. It's a new wave change in life. So everything's going to be okay. We just have to take deep breaths and, listen. We have to listen to one another for more communication and connection. Also, if we can still put those resiliency, the positiveness in, the steps that were Ms. Richardson had implied for our steps. You're going to be safe. Everything's going to be okay. We want to lead one another, but, we have to pull one another moving forward. So, and, just try to give them some techniques of it's going to be all right. They're not alone.
I think also that's a great suggestion. I think also if we make sure that the teachers know, and I'll speak as a teacher for about 2 minutes, we need to meet the children where they are academically and socially and functionally, because they don't progress the same way during a normal time. So why would we think they would do it now? So we need to make sure that when they come back in the building Monday or Monday week, that we understand, hey, these kids have been out of school for 50 weeks. They've been out of the building for 50 weeks. And so we have to just be patient and just make sure that we meet them where they are. And then we slowly but surely, get them to come along. And I think they'll be fine. I think they're looking forward to it, getting back into some sense of normal, if you will. But just a lot of love and a lot of patience.
Thank you. Ms. Wooten?
I actually was, my head was spinning because I was thinking about literally what my children need, like literally what my children specifically need. And then when Ms. Buck just said about meet them where they're at, my kids being at their age, they've already gone back to school. They went back in October because elementary has already gone back. So they were extremely distraught when they did not go back in January. I mean, beside themselves. And then when when they voted to not go back that next round, I mean, they cried. My girls are social. They're really outgoing kids. And so they're just sad. I try to make it fun, but like you said, mom's not the same as being in the classroom with the teacher. And what I've noticed with my kids at their age, or at least I sit with my kindergartner on the Zoom, and in kindergarten, it's such an emotional milestone too. Like, being in the classroom with the teacher, I was telling the assistant teacher we have, at that age, the base of their education in that room is sort of the relationship and the trust they build with the teacher first. 'Cause some of those kids have not been in pre-K. They're learning to trust another adult. And when you're looking at these kids on Zoom, especially when you're sharing a screen, I'm sure a lot of you realize what that looks like now. They can't see all the kids' faces. They can't read their faces. Not like looking out into a room and looking at all of them and getting to know their reactions to things. So when they come back in there, they're all in all different places emotionally. They're in different places, even with the education, because I sit there on Zoom and some of the kids can answer questions, some of them can't. And, at this point, how can you tell who's even doing the work at this point? Everything is digital. I'll admit I've done a scavenger hunt by myself because I just couldn't.
I was going to say that maybe as a mother, I was going to say maybe as a mother, you can put in being creative a little bit with the children, since you do have a kindergartner that's just getting into it.
Oh yeah.
And that's the biggest part missing is the social environment for all of us, So, and it's a hard adaptation, but we're going to get back there. Just hold on and, keep the faith, and we're going to move forward.
And what I will say about fun or creative, and it's not that I don't have a creative side. Right. It's like I've got two that need me all day long. Right. And so when we'll do if we want to do crafts or things like that, that's more like downtime. We start at 9:00 in the morning. We don't get done until 11:30 on Zoom. I give them a break, and then we literally have about 5 hours worth of apps and homework to do for the rest of the day. And I give them breaks in between. We get done at 3 p.m. most days because of all of the things that we have to sign on to and all of the things that we have to accomplish. And it's not because I'm adding things. It's because that's what we have to do.
That's the requirement from, I'm not sure where the requirement is coming from, but yes, these children are overwhelmed with how consistent the work has to be finished. Boom, 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 boom.
And so,
so at some point,
it's like you lose that time.
We really can't blame anyone.
Ladies, I
We really
I
can't.
hate to cut that awesome conversation short. I really do. I feel like we were just getting started, right? But our hour is up. And we do have some middle schoolers who are waiting to hijack the YouTube channel so that they can actually do a reading session with Mr. Plyler tonight and their media specialist. So we are going to have to cut this a little bit short. I was hoping we could get to one additional question, but I don't think we'll be able to do that. I do want to thank everyone for being with us today and for hang on 1 second. We're getting some feedback here. I do want to thank everyone for being with us. Somebody has the YouTube channel on, I think is what it is. I am totally muted. Okay. Thank you everyone for being with us tonight. You have to love Zoom and the whole mute feature, right? I cut myself off so you couldn't hear me. We have got to log off from the session this evening now so that we can allow some middle schoolers to get on. But I do want to invite everybody to a session next week. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to, on a monthly basis, host an information session like this. We'll have different topics every month. This month it was resiliency and reset tools. And then we'll follow up that information session and panel of guests the following week with something called a listening circle. And so we have got Ms. Richardson and some of her colleagues who will be with us next Thursday. We'll have a 10 a.m. session again and a 6 p.m. session. And in this session, everyone will be unmuted. You will be able to, or have the ability to be unmuted, and you will be able to connect and share how you're doing, de-stress, and practice some of the tools that Ms. Richardson shared. It's the mask. And just connect with one another as a network of educators and parents. So we do invite everybody to join us on Zoom. There will be links posted on social media as well as on our website. So we look forward to having everyone join us for those listening circles. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. And I hope you have an excellent evening.
Thank you.